So welcome to lesson 3.5. We're finding the slope from any 2 points on a line. All right, so today you're not going to have to do a lot of copying of graphs. We're going to do this mostly without the graphs, but let's remind ourselves how to find slope. Right, so you find your good intersections, you come down and you come straight over. The rise here is 2, the run is 5, and the slope everywhere along that line is 2/5. And you could use any 2 points. And there are other good intersections. I showed you 2, but there are other ones, and you could find the slope of positive 2/5 anywhere along that line. So we're going to do that without the graph today. Right? Before we do that, we have to do a little vocabulary. So these little, right, when you have, say, 3 squared, all right, that actually tells you to do something. These little ones here are not telling you. They're a numbering system, and they're called subscripts. And so I've asked you to find the ordered pair for x sub 1, all right, and x and y sub 1. That's how you say that, x sub 1, y sub 1, and the sub is for subscript. So x sub 1, y sub 1 is at 6, 2, where x sub 1 is at 6, and y sub 1 is 2. Why would you do that? Well, because if you have 2 different points, you want to be able to distinguish the 2, right? So now find the ordered pair for x sub 2, y sub 2, also known as the second point. All right, so the ordered pair for that, you come down and get the x coordinate. Get over and get the y coordinate, and x sub 2, y sub 2 is negative 4, 8. So those are called subscripts, and we're going to be using those today. All right, so we're going to find this horizontal, right? Flat is horizontal, this horizontal distance. Now, we could sit there and count how long it is, all right? But we can just subtract the x coordinate, so please do that. Right, so 8, the x coordinate of one of them is 8. The x coordinate of the other one is 2, right? The y coordinates are the same here. And so 8 minus 2 is 6, and we'd say this is 6 units long. Now notice, if you put 2 minus 8, then you get negative 6, but something can't be negative 6 units long. It has to be a positive number. So you have to do the absolute value of it or turn it around. So the horizontal distance there between 8, that looks like a 7, but it's a 2. All right, the distance between those 2 points is 6 units. Right now, you could come down here and count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, but we want to do things today without graphing them. Okay, so you don't have to copy these sketches. All right, so find the distance between those 2 points. One of them is at 7, 4, and the other is at negative 3, 4. So to find a horizontal distance, we're going to subtract the x coordinates. Well, 7 minus negative 3 is 7 plus 3. Or the distance there is 10 units long, right? It's 1, 2, 3, right, from negative 3 to 0. And then from 7 to 0 is 7 units for a total of 10. So this distance, let me clean up a little bit here, is 10. All right, vertical distances, if you subtract the x coordinates for horizontal distances, what do you subtract for vertical distances? Well, you subtract the y. So the x's are the same here. The y's are 10 minus 4. This is 6 units long, right? That's because it goes from 4 to 10, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's 6 units long. And find this vertical distance, please. And we subtract, right? We want to do 3 minus negative 6, right? We want to force ourselves to get a positive answer here. And so that is 9 units, this distance from 3 down to negative 6. So we have horizontal and vertical distances. What are we going to use that for? We're going to use it for slope. All right, so to find your rise, you're going to subtract your 2 y coordinates, y sub 2 and y sub 1. That's your vertical distance. Remember, though, it has it's going to have a direction now. And to get your run, you're going to subtract your x coordinates. Okay, so let's see that. find the slope of the line that passes through points 0, 4 and 3, 6. Now you could sit there and graph them and do all that and do this, right? But we're now going to do it without that. We're going to say the slope, and we're going to subtract the two y coordinates, all right? So we're going to go 6 minus 4. Now, and so we're going to get a rise of 2, right? The rise here is 2. Now, because I started with the 6, you must start with the 3 on the bottom for the run. Whichever point goes first, I made this basically the 2, and I made this one the 1, right? So whatever you start with on the top, you have to start with on the bottom. So I started with 6 on the top, I have to start with 3 on the bottom, and now I subtract my x coordinates, and I get 3 minus 0 is 3, and yeah, the slope of that line is 2/3. And there's only one line that goes through those points. It's the one and only line that goes through those 2 points, and the one and only line that goes through both of those points has a slope of 2/3. All right, there it is. All right, so let's try another one. All right, so we're going to subtract the x coordinate. So this is the point 6, 8. Let's see that. That's this point right here. And we're going to use the point 3, 6. So 8 minus 6, we're going to subtract our y coordinates. So 8 minus 6. We're going to subtract our x coordinates. All right, let me write this out. All right, and we get 6 minus 3. And we get the same, and we get the exact same slope again, 2/3, right? Because you can do it between any 2 points along a line. So that's how you find a slope when you have 2 points, but you don't have the graph. You don't have to graph them to find the slope. Okay, so these are the notes telling you you have to go in the correct order. So we'll see that here. So, all right, so we're going to find the slope here. And I'm always going to subtract the y coordinates for the numerator first. So let's say I do 7 minus 3, okay? And I got 4 for my numerator, for my rise. Okay, now, look what happens on the bottom. So then I have to start with 1. Since I started with 7, I have to start with 1 and 6. So I get 1 minus 6. And what do I get? I get negative 5. So the slope here is negative 4/5. Now, notice, I really did this backwards, but I got the right answer, and it's fine. But right, the run can never be a negative number, right? If I graph this, right, this is a negative slope. We had 1, 7, and 6, 3. That's 6 and 3, right? It looks like that, okay? And so it was this negative 4/5 slope, not a great sketch. All right, but so if you do it the other way, you get 3 minus 7, then you get 6 minus 1. And then you would get the negative 4 up top and the 5 on the bottom. Either way, you get negative 4/5. But we never leave our negative sign down in the denominator. We either put it out in front or we leave it up top. We did that before with fractions. All right, so try these two. All right, the y coordinates are 7 and 5. Since I started with the 7, I've got to start with the 9 on the bottom. The x coordinates are 9 minus negative 2. So my rise is going to be 2. My run is going to be 9 minus negative 2, 11. And so the slope here is 2/11. And there's only one line that goes through those 2 points, and it's got a slope of 2/11. Try this one. So you can start with either one. I tend to, do what's easiest. I always start with y, and then I just do whatever I think is easiest. 8 minus negative 6 is 14, right? So I started with the 8, so I have to start with the negative 4 on the bottom. Negative 4 minus negative 2 is the same as negative 4 plus 2. That's negative 2. Well, I'm not going to leave it that way. I have to always simplify my fractions, and the slope of this is negative 7. And again, let me just do it the other way just so you all see. Negative 6 minus 8 would be negative 14. Then if I start with the negative 6, I would have had to start with the negative 2. And I would get positive 2 on the bottom, and I still get a negative 7 slope. Just be consistent. right? So you always have to simplify your fractions, even with slope. So let's see that. Subtract your y's, right? It's minus -5. Subtract your x coordinates. So -2 minus -5 is -2 plus 5, or 3. -1 minus 8 is -1 plus -8, or -9. So you have to simplify this, and you want to put the negative out in front, and so this had a slope of -1/3. All right, here, just to be different, I'm going to start with 1 this time. So we're going to have 1, we're going to subtract our y coordinates, 1 minus -3. If I start with 1 on the top, I have to start with 7 on the bottom, denominator. So 1 minus -3 is 4. 7 minus -1 is 7 plus 1, 8. We're never leaving it that way. We're simplifying to a slope of 1/2. And what this means is, by the way, right, we talked about this. When you had -1, -3 there, and 7, 1, right? Anytime you have to simplify, what that means is there were other good intersections that I didn't give you. In between the 2 points I gave you, there were other good intersections. I'm just making random dots. But there were other good intersections, and that's why you had to simplify the fraction. So the y's are 7 minus -3. The x's are also 7 minus -3. So this one looks special. 7 minus -3 is 10. Oops, that was very sloppy on the bottom. 7 minus -3. It's also 10, and so this is a slope of 1, right? This is that one that goes right down the middle like that, right? And we had the point 7, 7. I'm going very quickly. And then we had the point -3, 3. But there were a lot of intersections in between that. That's why we had to simplify 10/10 to 1. All right, find the slope of that line. Right, so subtract your y, right? I'm going to write this out. We're subtracting so it's y sub 2 minus y sub 1. You subtract your y coordinates, 7 minus 7. Subtract your x coordinates, x sub 2 minus x sub 1. So it doesn't matter which 7 I started with here, so I'll start with 2 minus -5. 7 minus 7 is 0. 2 minus negative is 7. 0 sevenths, that's a slope of 0, all right? So I'm about to show you the graph. What does this line look like? Well, let's see. There it is, right? There's our points, 2, 7, and -5, 7. What kind of line is that? It's a horizontal line. If it has a slope of 0, it must be a horizontal line. You have to know that. You can really not get an A or B on the test if you don't know the difference between a horizontal and vertical line. A horizontal line looks like that, has a slope of 0. Let's try this one. Right, we're subtracting our y's. So 8 minus -7 I'm going to do, get 15. And then I'm going to do 6 minus 6, 0. So that is not a slope of 0. What is that? You can't have 0 in the denominator. It is what? Undefined. What kind of line is undefined for slope? Right there. What kind of line is that? That is a vertical line. Okay? And there are the 2 points, right? This is 6, -7 right there. That's 0.68 up there. And that is a vertical line. Your walls are vertical, your floor is horizontal. Floors have a slope of 0. Walls do not have a slope. It's undefined. Okay, let's practice that. Try to put your negative sign up top or in front. So what kind of line was that? I didn't ask that, but that's a horizontal line, right? Because it has a slope of 0.